Well, again, good morning, everyone. This is such a delight. We have friends and members who are starting to send in letters and emails and texts, and sometimes they show up, or sometimes they leave little goodie bags on the doorstep, or maybe fresh eggs. So things are starting to happen and come alive, and I'm just getting excited for this ability to share a different kind of presence with everyone. And so again, good morning, and my name is Victor, and we are celebrating Vesak this week, the first full moon in May. I believe it's on the 26th. And Buddhist cultures all over the world will be celebrating this traditional holiday. They'll be celebrating in India, Thailand, Korea, Laos. There's so many places. Yes, Kansas City, Missouri. Vesak commemorates the birth, awakening, and ascension of Siddhartha Gautama, whom we all know as the Buddha. And Buddha means, the word itself, Buddha means enlightened one. Now, many Buddhists will go to their local temples, and some might even stay throughout the entire day and night, of the full moon on the 26th. And many will take part in all kinds of activities. Folks will go out and do good deeds like clean up a park or spend a little bit of time at a soup kitchen. They will take part in chanting and meditation rituals. Again, I want to thank everybody who came Thursday night and joined with us for our chanting that we did from 7 to 8. And there may be some more chanting coming up this week. Watch the Facebook page and the website for those. So people will be also doing book studies and sharing in the teachings, bringing offerings to the temple or sharing food with each other. Some folks even decorate their home with lanterns or take part in processionals, wear special white clothing, sometimes send each other cards. All of these rituals and ceremonies are all in celebration of the Buddha's birth, awakening, and ascension. There's another particular little ritual that you might see on YouTube, or some of you might even practice, and that is the bathing of the Buddha. And you'll see a small Buddha statue be placed in a bowl, and people come and they pour water over the shoulders as a ceremonious representation of the cleansing of the mind, cleansing the mind of fear, greed, hatred, and delusion. And so the significance of Vesak lies with the Buddha and his universal peace message to all of mankind. As we recall the Buddha and the enlightenment itself, we are immediately reminded of the unique and most profound knowledge and insight which arose within him on the night of his enlightenment. This coincided with three important events which took place, which we call in the Buddhist writings the three watches. The three watches of the evening. So during the first watch of the night, when his mind was calm, clear, and purified, light arose within the Buddha. Knowledge and insight arose within the Buddha. And he saw at that moment his previous lives. First 1, 2, then 20, 30, 40, hundreds, and even thousands. And as he went on with his practice, during the evening, the second watch arose. And in that moment, the Buddha saw how beings die and are reborn depending on their karma, how they disappear and reappear from one form to another, from one plane of existence to another. And then during the final watch of the evening, the third watch, the Buddha saw the arising and cessation of all phenomena, the coming and going of all things, mental, physical. He saw how things arose dependent on causes and conditions. This led the Buddha to perceive the arising and cessation of suffering and all forms of unsatisfactoriness, paving the way for the eradication of all craving. With the complete cessation of craving, his mind was liberated and the Buddha attained full enlightenment. So this wisdom and light that radiated underneath the historic Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, India, more than over 2,500 years ago, is of great significance to human destiny. It illuminated the way by which mankind could cross from a world of fear and hatred and superstition to a world of light, love, and truth. And so the heart of the teachings of the Buddha is contained in the teachings of the Four Noble Truths, namely the first noble truth of dukkha, and this is described in English as a form of suffering, an unsatisfactoriness to life. The second noble truth is the origin or the causes of suffering, craving sense pleasure of any kind, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, or aversion to pain of any kind, mental, spiritual, physical, emotional. And then the third noble truth was the end or the cessation of suffering. And then finally, the fourth noble truth, which is the path which leads to the cessation of suffering, or the Noble Eightfold Path. And so this is often helpful to look at in terms of a doctor's visit. So for example, the first noble truth is the suffering, the unsatisfactoriness of life. This is the symptoms that are being experienced. Then the next is the origin or the cause. This is the diagnosis. And then finally you have the end or the cessation of suffering. This is the prognosis. And then this culminates with the prescription, the Noble Eightfold Path. So this first noble truth of life is dukkha, as I said, often translated as suffering, has a deeper philosophical meaning. Birth, old age, sickness, and death are universal. All beings are subject to this unsatisfactoriness. Also, another aspect of this unsatisfactoriness is not getting what we want. The definition of suffering, my teacher would often say, is the mind wanting things to be different than the way they are. So not getting what we want, and subsequently getting what we want. All of these things are also sources of suffering and unsatisfactoriness. And I know a lot of people are going, wait a minute, how can getting what I want be a source of suffering and unsatisfactoriness? Because we can't keep it. So all things, because of impermanence, rise and fall, come and go. This was a part of the Buddha's, one of the watches of that night of awakening, is seeing this rise and fall. And so the Buddha summarizes dukkha in talking about the 5 grasping aggregates. I'm not going to go into those, but our life, or the whole process of living, is seen as a flux or a flow, an energy. We're not a thing, we're a process. These are usually classified as mental and physical processes which are constantly in a state of flux or change. And so as practitioners, when we train our minds to observe the functioning of mental and physical processes, we realize the true nature of mind. We begin to realize the true nature of our lives. We will see it is subject to change and unsatisfactoriness, and as such, there is no real substance or entity or self which we can cling to as I, me, or mine, because it's always changing. We're always growing, always learning, always releasing. As practitioners, the insights that arise are insights into the nature of mind. Oh, I see why I say and do the things I do. Even the Apostle Paul said in the Bible, I do not understand this body. It does not do what I want and does what I hate. So this inquiry, this path of wisdom. Wisdom is in the body. As we come to know who we are, we come to know who everyone is. It is at this point that we begin to seriously question ourselves about the meaning and purpose of life. This will lead us to seek truth with regards to the true nature of existence and the knowledge to overcome suffering and unsatisfactoriness. In other words, as we experience more suffering and we begin to realize that no matter how many cars I get, how many great jobs I get, how much money I get, no matter how many dates I go on, it just doesn't seem to ever satisfy. There's always that unsatisfactoriness. And when we realize that what we're looking for is not out there in the external world, we begin to look inwards. We begin asking bigger questions. Not what's wrong with men, or what's wrong with women, or why is it people drive like this, or what's wrong with these Democrats or Republicans. I mean, the list goes on. Tall, short, gay, straight, black, white, all of these external labels that create and provide so much division. When we come back and realize that all of that springs from this consciousness, and what is it that has shaped this consciousness, we begin to see the factual nature of existence, and everything just is. There is a clarity, there is a purity to awareness, and then all the labels fall away. From the Buddhist point of view, therefore, the purpose of life is to put an end to suffering and all other forms of unsatisfactoriness, to realize peace and a true depthful happiness. Such is the significance of the understanding and realization of the first noble truth, that life is unsatisfactory. There is a suffering aspect. And so my invitation to you today, as we celebrate Vesak, is about courage. The courage to turn towards the suffering, the courage to turn inward and explore this wonderful gift that we have been given to play with for 70, 80 years, some odd years. The courage to look inward and question all that arises, to go to the source. That is our practice. And the other half of our practice is the courage to be happy. My teacher would always tell me, we do all this work, looking, this inquiry, this self-examination, and this true depthful exploring, releasing fear, greed, hatred, and delusion. And then once we've done all that, we stand there completely bewildered because we haven't known a true, depthful happiness. As Jesus put it, the peace that passeth all understanding. When the purification of fear, greed, hatred, and delusion is endeavored to work on, and more is released, what arises is our true nature. Love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. And these can be very new for many people to actually feel. It's like, wait a minute, can things actually be this good? There's got to be something wrong. Where's that other shoe? I just know it's going to drop any moment now. So the other half of our practice is letting in the good, realizing how amazing not only this moment can be, but when every moment is amazing, then life just becomes incredibly liberated, joyful. Even the difficulties and the challenges and the pains become sweet. There's a sweetness in them. With loss, to the degree that we love, we hurt when it's gone. So even in that pain of loss, you can feel the sweetness of the degree that we have loved. And so it all becomes, as the Buddha said, we have cause for nothing but joy and gratitude in this life.